What if the Colosseum wasn't the best part about Rome? Because Rome is a grand city built amongst ruins, and when I went, my life was definitely in ruins. This trip was an escape because I was going through the worst breakup of my life, and I felt like I was losing everything. But it was the quiet moments that healed me. The secret rooftops, interactions with strangers who became friends, and a whole lot of good food made Rome unforgettable. So I'll tell you how Rome changed me in just 3 days. For our first day in Rome, we decided to leave the country, and I mean it, because we went to the smallest country in the world, the Vatican City, or more specifically, St. Peter's Basilica, which is known to be the spiritual center of Vatican City, with a lot of people who come here to seek purpose and healing. So I guess I should have planned for the line. Because this is the line at 9:05 a.m. The line moves pretty quickly though, so we got in at around 9:40 and went to the underground of the Basilica. I'm not gonna lie, it was so crowded I was feeling a little bit claustrophobic. And it was sort of hard to tell apart people's tombs, but apparently Peter is in one of these. But after being underground, the main hall of the Basilica seems massive, and it doesn't really feel crowded even though there are so many people because the ceilings are so tall. What a lot of people don't notice is that pretty much everything is stone, even including these large paintings that are actually mosaics. There were also these cherubs holding what I can only assume is holy water, and this is one of those places where even if you're not religious, you can feel the magnitude of this place. But I still felt empty, and I wasn't sure if it was because of the hole that someone had left in my life or the stress of not having a home anymore. So I decided to reach out to my friends by writing some postcards. They have a great selection of postcards at the Vatican City, and I was really torn between getting this glamour shot of the Pope or the value pack. But because I was freshly divorced, I decided to get the value pack. But seriously, these were friends that had been there for me through thick and thin, and ones that had listened to me when I was still finding my voice. And that's why I'll probably send them a postcard every single time I travel. Next we went to Castel Sant'Angelo, which has lived more lives than most people. This castle was actually supposed to be a tomb for an emperor, but they reinvented this again and again, from a fortress to a papal hideout, a prison, a palace, and then somehow a museum. It goes to show that you can really be whatever you want. When you get inside, you walk into a tunnel that spirals up to the top, and apparently there's also a secret passageway here that connects to the Vatican City for the popes to escape. This place has one of the best views in Rome, and staring out of the tiny windows made it seem like I was staring into a secret city. And despite the chaos, it seemed so peaceful. It made me wonder if I needed to take a step back from my problems and look at it from a different perspective. Because the breakup was messy and chaotic, and I had almost left everything behind. But there were also peaceful and joyful moments with family and friends that I hadn't been able to see in a long time. This looks like an ordinary building, but if you take this lift to go up, suddenly you're on the prettiest rooftop in Rome. It was pretty windy, so we decided to sit inside, and I also couldn't believe how quiet this place was. For the food, don't expect anything amazing, but I think the food was still pretty decent. I do think that it would be really hard to find bad pasta in Italy though. Rome is actually a really walkable city, and we walked past the Trevi Fountain and the Spanish Steps on the way back, and we walked past a secret rooftop that I'll show you on day 3. Another day, another line. This was sort of expected, and we already booked tickets in advance, so we were fast-tracked. But if you don't buy tickets, your line will extend down the street. And when you get in, it still is pretty crowded, so I was a bit overwhelmed. But you should know that the Vatican Museums are actually massive, So there are areas where you can see masterpieces in peace. Apparently, if you looked at each artwork for 30 seconds, it would still take you 11 years to see all of them. That is how big the Vatican Museums are. What almost everyone comes here for though, is to see the Sistine Chapel. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to take photos once you're in the room, and this was originally because Nippon TV had exclusivity rights to the ceiling, but that has since expired. It's incredibly beautiful to see the artwork, but maybe not quite the vibe we want with guards yelling "silence" every couple of minutes. Although the crowd made it difficult to have quiet moments, there were still brief moments amongst the chaos, and I felt so lucky to be able to see the art and architecture of this place. And finally, it was time to visit the Colosseum. Apparently, the original name is Flavium Amphitheatre, but there was also a statue called Colossus next to it, which is why it was renamed to Colosseum. I didn't expect the inside to look like this, because you can see all of the underground area when you go to the top and look down. Apparently, this used to be covered with wooden planks with sand on top, so that they could absorb all the blood. The Colosseum has survived earthquakes, fires, and even looting of its stones. But despite this, the Colosseum is still monumental. And I realised that it's similar to our own lives because it's who we become through the ruins that make us unique and beautiful. We ended our day at a quiet bar with a Colosseum view. And originally I thought that this place would just be good for the views, but the cocktails ended up being really fun as well. My parents' favourite part though was seeing the fruit tree right next to us. And it was such a perfect way to relax as a family. So I'm pretty much on a different side of Rome now. I went to Market Testaccio and there are barely any tourists here. Let me show you a bit of what it's like. Honestly, I thought I made a big mistake coming here on my solo day. There was graffiti covering almost every surface of the streets, and I was worried because I was pretty far from the city centre. But as soon as I got inside, the vibe completely changed, and it just felt like a warm local market. Okay, I found a more crowded area with some more tourists as well. Or maybe it's just filled more with locals, but this area seems really busy. And this must be the place where all of the nonnas come to buy their fruits and veg. I'm doing a quick pit stop to check what sort of food we should get. So I think what Google says is Modi e Vai is the one to go to. So let's try that. Ciao. What do you recommend?
Number one.
Number one? Adesso di scotona. I didn't expect him to dip the sandwich into the sauce, but as soon as he did it, my mouth was salivating. Thank you. I left with my sandwich, and that's when I came across rosa cibo.
Piadina.
Piadina.
Yeah.
Oh, it's piadina.
You like the figs?
I hadn't planned on eating more, but those figs looked so good. And they were so nice to let me sit and eat my sandwich there as well. The meat in the Modi e Vai sandwich was so tender, and I actually really liked how saucy it was as well, because it stopped the meat from being too dry. I did try to finish this, but I got too excited as soon as I got the fig piadina. And I think these must be the freshest figs I've ever eaten in my life. And while I was eating, they also gave me a fig to try by itself as well. They were so nice, they even invited me into their kitchen. And it was awesome to see how they made everything. This was a while ago, and they'd mentioned that they hadn't been doing well as a business since COVID. And back then, I was just starting out on my creator journey, so I didn't really know how to help them. But they really left an impression on me on what people in Rome were like. And after leaving that market, I realized that while I had a lot of fun visiting the monuments, it was the small human moments that stayed with me. Can you see that the roof is an illusion? Because not only was the ceiling painted to look like it was reaching up to the heavens, apparently that dome is also painted on. There's a mirror that you can use to take a closer look at the artwork, but mostly people take selfies here, and that is exactly what I was there for. But unfortunately, there was a really long line, and more unfortunately, you have to pay €2, which I did not have because I didn't carry any cash. But I was there for so long that I ended up chatting to a couple of Canadians in line, Sandra and Ozer, and they were really nice and offered to let me use the mirror with them. I didn't expect to make new friends in a busy city, and definitely not people as interesting or as friendly as them. And again, although that ceiling was incredibly beautiful, the moment that stuck with me was their kindness. After this, I went to visit the Fountain of Trevi, which is one of the most beautiful and iconic places in Rome, but also the most chaotic. But I'm about to show you a secret rooftop, which I've been so excited about, that will help you avoid this. And this is in Hotel Fontana. I didn't have to make a booking, but you should get there before 5 p.m, especially if you want a seat by the window. And there is a cost to access the roof, but it does cover your drink and some snacks. Honestly, the view is pretty cool from up here, and it was definitely worth it to avoid the crowds. I had expected just to visit a grand city amongst ancient ruins, but I found more. Human moments, quiet spots within a crowded city, and even new friends. And while I was technically much poorer at the end of my Rome trip, my heart felt rich. Thanks for sticking around, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see my next adventure.